April 14, 1945. The North Sea, 8 miles off Peterhead, Scotland, 200 feet below the surface, German submarine U-1206 cruises on patrol. The war is nearly over. Germany is weeks from surrender, but U-1206 is still hunting, still dangerous. The submarine is brand new. Commissioned January 16, 1945. Type Vic. The most common U-boat class. 77 men aboard. Commanded by 30-year-old Captain Karl-Adolf Schlitt. U-1206 has all the latest technology, advanced sonar, improved batteries, and a revolutionary new toilet system. Before we discuss how that toilet killed 4 men and sank the submarine, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And hit that subscribe button for more incredible World War II stories. The German Kriegsmarine had a problem, a bathroom problem. Early U-boats used simple toilets, basically a bowl connected to a pipe that led to a holding tank. When the submarine surfaced, crew members would pump the waste overboard manually. Simple, reliable, but there was a problem at depth. At 200 feet underwater, the external water pressure is roughly 90 pounds per square inch. The internal submarine pressure is normal atmospheric pressure, about 7 pounds per square inch. If you open a valve connecting the inside to the outside at that depth, water doesn't go out, it comes rushing in. So early U-boats couldn't flush toilets while submerged deep. Waste accumulated in holding tanks until the submarine surfaced. On long patrols, this became unpleasant. 77 men, 1 bathroom, days or weeks between surfacing. You can imagine the smell. German engineers decided to solve this problem with technology. They designed a high-pressure toilet system. The new design used pressurized air to forcefully eject waste even at depth. Brilliant, except the system required a specific sequence of valve operations. Turn valve A, wait. Turn valve B, wait. Pull lever C, turn valve D. Get any step wrong and you don't flush the toilet. You flood the submarine. The new toilet came with an instruction manual. Seriously, an actual manual explaining the proper flushing procedure. And on submarines equipped with the new system, 1 crew member was designated as the toilet specialist. His job was to help officers and crew operate the toilet correctly. Think about that. The German Navy in 1945 had to assign a specialist just to help people flush. By April 1945, U-1206 had been on patrol for 2 weeks. Everything was going well. They'd avoided detection, conserved torpedoes, stayed alive. Captain Schlitt was an experienced officer, not with submarines. This was only his 2nd patrol as a U-boat captain, but he'd served in the Kriegsmarine since 1937. He knew ships. He knew the sea. Surely he could operate a toilet. On April 14th, while cruising at 200 feet, Captain Schlitt needed to use the facilities. He went to the head, did his business, then attempted to flush. Now Captain Schlitt should have called for the toilet specialist. That was protocol. But Schlitt was the captain. He'd read the manual. He understood the system, or so he thought. He began the valve sequence. Turn valve A, turn valve B, pull lever C, but he either skipped a step or turned the wrong valve. Instead of waste going out, seawater started coming in. High-pressure seawater at 200 feet doesn't trickle. It shoots in like a fire hose, gallons per second. The toilet bowl fills instantly, overflows, water pours onto the floor of the bathroom, then into the corridor. Schlitt realizes his mistake, tries to close the valve, can't. The pressure is too high, he panics, calls for help. The engineering officer arrives, sees the situation, attempts to shut the correct valve, but in the confusion and urgency, he turns the wrong valve, makes it worse. Now seawater is flooding in even faster. The water is pouring into the compartment directly below the toilet, the battery compartment. This is where the story goes from embarrassing to deadly. German U-boats used lead-acid batteries for underwater propulsion. Huge banks of batteries, powerful, essential, and extremely dangerous when exposed to seawater. Seawater plus sulfuric acid battery equals chlorine gas. Lots of chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is what the Germans used in World War I trench warfare. It burns lungs, causes suffocation, kills quickly in enclosed spaces, and a submarine is the most enclosed space imaginable. The crew in the battery compartment starts coughing, choking, gasping. They evacuate immediately and seal the compartment, but the gas is spreading. The submarine's ventilation system is pulling chlorine gas into other compartments. Men throughout the boat are having trouble breathing. Captain Schlitt faces an impossible choice: stay submerged and let his crew suffocate, or emergency surface and risk detection. It's not really a choice. He orders emergency surface. The ballast tanks blow. U-1206 rockets toward the surface. She breaks through at high speed, water cascading off her deck. Crew members scramble out of the hatches, gasping for fresh air. The submarine is now on the surface, 8 miles off the Scottish coast, in broad daylight. In 1945, the North Sea is one of the most heavily patrolled areas in Europe. Our RAF Coastal Command flies constant anti-submarine patrols. British ships are everywhere. German U-boats that surface during the day in these waters typically have a life expectancy measured in minutes. U-1206 surfaces at approximately 2:00 p.m. At 2:17 p.m., 17 minutes later, a British aircraft spots them. The crew sees it coming. Men are still on deck, trying to vent the toxic gas from the submarine, trying to assess the damage, trying to figure out if they can dive again. The answer is no. The toilet is still flooding. The battery compartment is still producing chlorine gas. They can't dive, can't run, can't fight. The British bomber makes its attack run. Bombs fall. One hits near the submarine, doesn't penetrate the pressure hull but causes additional damage. Kills 4 crew members on deck instantly. Another 12 men are wounded, some badly. Captain Schlitt makes his final decision. He orders the submarine scuttled. They open the sea cocks, let more water in. U-1206 begins to sink. The surviving crew, 36 men, abandon ship and swim toward shore. The Scottish coast is 8 miles away. In April, the North Sea in April is bone-chillingly cold. Not many make it. British vessels pick up the survivors. Captain Schlitt survives. So do most of the crew who weren't killed by the bomb. They're taken prisoner. The war ends 3 weeks later. After the war, the British interrogate Captain Schlitt. They want to understand what happened. How did a German U-boat end up scuttled 8 miles off Scotland? Schlitt's report is difficult. He has to explain that his brand new submarine was sunk because he flushed the toilet incorrectly. The British interrogators think he's lying, or joking, or covering up some other failure. They investigate, review the U-boat's technical specifications, talk to German engineers, examine the wreckage later. It's all true. U-1206 was sunk by its own toilet. The story becomes legendary, not publicized during the war, too embarrassing for Germany, too absurd for the British to use as propaganda. But after the war, naval historians uncover the details. It's too bizarre not to share. U-1206 becomes the only submarine in recorded naval history officially sunk by its own toilet, not by depth charges, not by torpedoes, not by bombs, by a flush gone wrong. The incident highlights everything wrong with over-engineering, the German tendency to make things complex when simple works better. The old toilets were crude, smelly, unpleasant, but they didn't sink submarines. The new high-tech toilet was supposed to improve crew comfort, make life easier. Instead, it required a specialist to operate, came with an instruction manual, and killed 4 men when someone turned the wrong valve. There's a broader lesson here. Technology is only good if people can actually use it correctly under stress. A toilet that requires a specialist to flush is not good technology. It's a liability, especially in combat, especially in a submarine where one mistake can kill everyone. Captain Schlitt survived the war, returned to Germany, never commanded another vessel, lived quietly, died in obscurity. But his toilet flush became immortal. Naval academies tell the story. Submarine schools use it as a cautionary tale about over-engineering. It's in books, documentaries, now YouTube videos, because it's the most embarrassing military loss in history, not the biggest loss, not the most consequential, but the most embarrassing. 4 men died. A brand new submarine sunk. 36 men captured. All because a captain turned the wrong valve while trying to flush a toilet. April 14, 1945. U-1206. The submarine sunk by its own toilet. If this story made you laugh, and it's okay to laugh, the absurdity is undeniable. Hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment. What's the most embarrassing way you've ever messed something up? Thanks for watching.